Hello, welcome to Podsongs. I'm Jack Stafford, and I interview inspiring people in service to others as inspiration for a new song. Now, the people who work for peace should be revered in our lives. Forget actors, celebrities, musicians especially. We should worship peace workers. My guest today has had her life dominated by the secret war that's going on in the northeast of India for her whole life, still going on today. She grew up under martial law. Everyday people now are being shot and raped with impunity in this area of India. And she's received many peace prizes for her work drawing attention to this and helping people there. She founded the Manipur Women Gun Survivors Network. Is a truly inspiring person. Please welcome Binalakshmi Nepram.
Never got an email from a musician or someone who so I was really excited. So yeah
it's an unusual podcast. I think I'm the first person to do it, so
yes, thank you for your work. I'm really looking forward.
Well, thank you for taking the time to speak to me. I want to speak to people who are working for peace in particular because it's such an I work for peace a lot. You know, I turn off my telephone, I close the curtains, I try and watch TV, and if anyone disturbs my peace, I get very upset.
Yeah.
But you're doing it on a much higher level than I do. I mean, you're working for proper peace, so
yes,
the respect to you.
Thank you. Oh my God, our whole life is just living, breathing, advocating, pushing for peace, and it never seems to end.
Because I've been studying your story, and you grew up in a world you didn't know anything but this unrest until you moved to Delhi. No, you thought it was normal for people with guns to come into your house, and
exactly. That was a moment in my life I realized how violence and war have been so normalized that if you are born and grow up, we thought it was normal till I came out from this war zone and I realized that I grew up in abnormal situation. So yes, absolutely, you're right. You got that. Yeah.
So maybe you could tell us where to start, really. I mean, how did you become an activist? Because I thought you wanted to be a physicist.
Yes. Till today, I don't know what the word activist means. It's what the Indian media gave me.
Okay.
But what I do know is when one grows up in such a conflict zone, which the world doesn't know. Not even India knows it. The rest of other citizens in India didn't know it. So for me, the starting of this work was absolutely organic. Like I grew up there. I was born in the throes of violent conflict when militarization was at its height, when Manipur was under martial law, seeing so many lockdowns. So the lockdown we're seeing in the COVID-19 is something we have experienced multiple times in my life. So it's how did I start? As I said, the realization when you, someone who have seen this violence at very close quarters and then realized after I came to Delhi that this was abnormal. And even after I grew up and, started my university and college, it didn't stop. In fact, it worsened. I mean, that was the turning point. And on top of that, my niece died in a bomb blast. And then my parents were really good educationists. My mother is a very remarkable educationist. And armed gunmen tried to, shoot her, intimidate her. So that's when no human rights group actually came forward to support, that's when I realized there's so much of fear. There's so much of violence that people's minds are dead towards how to respond to it. I think that was for me the wake-up moment. And I started researching, writing. So my whole life has been on gun violence, gun violence, because, you and I can fight, but then, if you don't have a gun, we get angry, upset, calm down, cool down, have a glass of water or a drink. And anyway, but when one of us have a gun, We never know. So it's that kind of violence through, the gun, which actually made me realize gun violence, where about 3 to 4 Manipuri people in my region were shot every day dead, every single day, Jack. And this realization that they're doing a very slow, careful killing without letting the world know. It was not like Rwanda, where in 3 months, Hutus and Tutsis have been made to slaughter each other because of the vested elements. It was done very smartly in the world's largest democracy, of what I call a very slow killing. And that is what made me do the work that I'm doing right now, Jack. Yeah.
So who is responsible for this? Who is doing most of the killing?
Absolutely. The first thing is this is where it's really important to know where we are coming from. The whole world knows India as a beautiful land, and India is really beautiful. It is land of Ganges. It gave a lot of holy men and women, and it gave Gandhi and nonviolence to the world. So it's a very positive country for like centuries to the world, as a spiritual home for the world, literally. The Beatles came to India, Ringo Starr came in, was at Rishikesh, and all of these stories about a lot of people finding. But what happened is that, but the world, that's one story of the world. The world knows about India. And India was really a country which was like that. I mean, Mahatma Gandhi did nonviolent protests and he got independence and everything. But then, in fact, we are speaking today actually on India's Republic Day.
Really?
Yeah, it's a day when India got its republic, became a republic. And India got their independence without firing a single bullet. So, peace was at the forefront, what India gave to the world. But then it changed. India, what happened at the time, once the British left India and then India's self-rule started, India actually started becoming a colonizer to many smaller neighboring countries. So, for example, Manipur was an independent Asiatic nation state. And I repeat, my region was an independent Asiatic nation state like Bhutan, Nepal. In 1949, India annexed us, you see. And
I'm looking on a map. Yeah, they've got. Yeah. There's this tiny. You're on the east side, so there's Bangladesh.
Yeah.
And there's this tiny little corridor that loops around. So Bangladesh is completely covered by India, and then Manipur's on the border with Myanmar.
Correct. And then we have more than 30, 40 villages in Myanmar too. And we had villages even in the Indo-Bangladesh border. So Manipur was an independent Asiatic kingdom with a 3,000-year-old recorded history, with our own language, script, culture, history, and our own, monarchy. So in 1949, India put our king under house arrest and forced to sign the merger agreement, in which became the start of violent conflict in Manipur. You see, that's how it happened. So the first perpetrator of violence is the government of India. I mean, again, I'm trained as a historian, so I'm giving you the historical perspective. The first perpetrator of violence in my region is the Indian nation state. Until today, we have a martial law imposed on 2.2 million Manipuris. Till today, 2.2 million people live under martial law in the world's largest democracy and the northeast of India since 1958, non-stop. So India is the only nation in the world which does not have a war. Yet there is an emergency martial law called Armed Forces Special Powers Act, clamped in 1958 in the indigenous territories of Manipur and northeast of India. This is an information which India doesn't share with the world, and the United Nations have taken recognizing of this, but then India does not listen to them. So right now we are living under martial law. Yeah. So that is the first thing. So the perpetrator is the state, and then of course, the movement in Manipur in the 50s, 60s, until the 70s were done through literature, arts, music, where Manipuri people asked India, all right, we are now a part of you, now treat us as equal citizens of an equal country. And it didn't. So more and more militarization happened. And what happened was many people died in protest, and in the late 70s and early 80s, the Manipur struggle for our rights and dignity became violent when some of the groups went over to Lasha for arms and training. So this was late 70s, early 80s. And so armed insurgency started in the early 80s in Manipur. And so it became, and when India couldn't militarily subdue the protests, then what India did was it started arming small ethnic groups, so that as a counterinsurgency technique. So it started arming. Manipur is home to 39 indigenous communities, and India started arming many ethnic armed groups also. So it became from Manipur versus India conflict to people within people conflict, because these conflicts were engineered within our region. So it was really sad to see so many ethnic clashes happening when I was growing up, and then in 1997 we had so many ethnic conflicts, acts of small levels of conflict and genocide committed within the nation state. And then there was so much of also rape and killing of indigenous Manipuri women. So it became really, really vicious. So this is what happened in Manipur all this while. And so for us civilians, for me, I grew up in this conflict area. And for us, our quest for our work, since I started getting consciousness of what was happening, and we realized that violence is not the root, either by state or non-state. That is not the solution. But India needs to realize that it needs to withdraw its military from our indigenous territories. India must realize that it has to remove the martial law. So we started our work to using the democratic spaces to prevail upon the Indian nation state, as well as to all the parties of war to stop their guns and negotiate, so that we are treated like equal citizens of an equal country. But till now, Jack, they have not listened to us. 15 years we have been advocating using the most democratic ways. So I set up an office in Delhi, called the Control Arms Foundation of India, to shed our research, our writing, advocacy, met ministers, met Indian parliamentarians. They don't listen to us, Jack. They just don't listen to us. So it's for us, for many of us who have been decades into this peacemaking, we cannot understand. If only governments listen to what citizens say, we will not have what happened in India today at the farmers' protest. So today was India's Republic Day parade. And Indian farmers had a tractor rally. Some of them, just became violent. And then there was violence also on the farmers. One farmer has been shot dead. And it's now total mayhem today on the 72nd, if I'm not mistaken, year of Indian Republic. It is in a chaos right now. So that's what we feel pain about, that a country like India, who could be an epitome of democracy, is now backsliding into democracy. We are not a democracy anymore. We are more like autocratic democracy right now. Yeah.
Well, gee, I mean, that's not a known story. I've never heard this before.
Yeah, absolutely. And like what you're saying, it is, this story of ours has been blocked away by New Delhi. I have been warned against speaking about this conflict and violence outside India many times. So I'm speaking at tremendous risk, but so be it, because all our work has been nonviolent. We work within the framework of what the Constitution of India guarantees, where it says every Indian has a right to life. But under the martial law, the government of India is decrying its own constitution by imposing martial law on our people. So we are not afraid to speak up now, because if some of us do not speak up, this will continue for the next 100 years. And we don't want the next generation. My generation is the third generation trauma in my region. I don't want the younger generation to come up, which is going to come after us, to say we couldn't do anything. At least we can say that we did something. At least we went down fighting, So but with non-violent ways of looking at resolving violence and conflict, because this is not done, especially in the land of Gandhi. No. Yeah.
So are they worried you want independence? Is that their excuse for keeping this going?
You know what? The world we are all interconnected. This is not what the people of Manipur are saying. It started definitely in 1940s because we were really forced. Of course, the some of the echoes of what the group said we should be independent. But let's listen to what the citizens of Manipur are saying. We are asked to be treated like equal citizens of an equal country. And if you can't treat us equally, then do you want to be called Indians? Why force us to call Indians when you don't treat us like one? Why say that one country, two laws? Why one country where you could do anything you want? You could, every 22 minutes, you could, physically assault a woman and nothing goes, everything's seen well. But then if, a Manipuri asks for the removal of a martial law for peace, you are called anti-national. So what the people of Manipur want is peace. What the people of Manipur want is that government of India formulates the right policies and program to make us feel like being treated as equal citizens of an equal country. Till now, they haven't made us do that. For instance, I'll tell you, I'm trained as a historian. I studied my master's in Indian history, and I was shocked to learn that not a single line of the history of 2.2 million people is in the textbooks of India, you see. So today, if you didn't speak to me, Jack, and if all our people have been killed, you don't even know that Manipuri people existed on the face of this earth. You see, this is the way in which the violence was not just done to our bodies and our land. Our violence was done by deleting us from the historical narrative of India. And this is not done, you see.
What about these other areas, like I see Tripura, Mizoram, Nagaland?
All same. That's why our work started in Manipur and we became the voice of the entire northeast of India, which is now home to 45 million people out there. And I hope you come and visit us one day. This is really remarkable part of the world. In fact, it's like a national geographer's paradise. In fact, this region, Jack, I call it the beginning of Southeast Asia. So if you have traveled to Southeast Asia, the northeast of India is actually the beginning of Southeast Asia. Our food is more herb. They're more like Thai, Laos, Filipino food. We didn't grow up with chicken tikka masalas, or we didn't grow up with a lot of spice. In fact, a Manipuri cuisine is called kangsoy, and we don't even have a drop of oil or a spice in our diet. It's mostly herbs grown in our land, you see. So it's very, very healthy diet. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, absolutely. This entire northeast of India, the history of 45 million people out there are not in the textbooks of India.
Oh, wow.
And martial law has been imposed in each of the states except Sikkim. Okay. In each of the states in the past 70 years in one form or the other. So currently martial law was there in Tripura, as you mentioned, but it was lifted a few years ago. And then, so each one of these regions is home to 272 indigenous communities, 272. 45 million of us speaking more than 400 languages and dialects. So the history of this entire region is not in the textbooks of India at all. So can you imagine? So it's just not Manipur alone where I was born. So in the past 7 to 8 years, I traveled to each of the northern states to understand what was happening, and the story of violence, the story of exclusion is the same anyway. So if anyone from this part of India goes to New Delhi, we are given a term. It's called Chinkies, means people with Chinese features, people with small eyes, snub nose, indigenous people. For example, when I first came to Delhi until today, like people always ask which country I am from. Indians don't think we are Indian enough, So this is called huge racism against the indigenous people of northeast of India, because again, as I mentioned, our history is not in the textbooks of India. So a young child growing up in Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata have no idea what is the northeast of India. They think it's just, I'll tell you what they think about us. They think our land is full of jungles. They think it's forested people. They think we don't have a brain. They think we need to be civilized. Very condescending way of looking at us. So this is so we have faced racial discrimination at very acute quarters. And during COVID-19 last year, many people from northeast of India were asked to go back to China. We were not allowed to enter restaurant, grocery shop, and people spat at us. Because they say you are coronavirus couriers. I did an op-ed actually for Washington Post for this. I can send you the link. It's just, we were sure the virus was rampaging everywhere. In fact, the virus was not in the indigenous region for a long time because our diet is really good, Yeah. But then it came through, actually, one of the worst clusters of virus was in Tripura, and it came through Indian military. The virus came through Indian military troops. And then in March and November, we had one like it was Manipur had 0 COVID cases in March, April, and then it started really when Modi closed the whole country, and then so many migrant laborers were forced to return back home. That's when the virus spiked in northeast of India. Yeah.
Why does India want this area? Manipur, does it mean land of the jewels? Is that right?
Yes.
So are there lots of resources in this? Why doesn't India just let it go?
No, India wouldn't let it go because they're absolutely right. This is one of the things that I always ask our community people to understand is that, the first oil of India was dug in Assam, in our region, in the 1800s, called Big Boy. And, if you know Darjeeling tea, champagne of all teas, it's all coming from that region, Sikkim, Darjeeling area. So it's an extremely resource-rich area. And India, 23% of India's forest cover still left is in our territories. Yeah. And oil and gas reserves. It's a very resource-rich area. The people of northeast of India are not saying we will not share, but till today, India has exploited like our resources and only given like literally 1% back to our people, but 99% India has taken these resources. So over this period of time, it has been extreme exploitation, and Prime Minister Modi's government is a prime example of how he has colluded with industrialists and multinational corporations to create this feeling that, they love the Northeast, but in short, all the multinational corporations have arrived just to take away our resources under our soil. So this is what is happening in our region. Absolutely, you're right, spot on, that this is an extremely resource-rich area. The indigenous people of northeast of India are not saying we will not share with India, but it should be done on an equitable basis. That many parts of northeast of India, Jack, are now impoverished. I have been in so many remote parts of India, of northeast of India, and I've seen women, children in remote mountain areas of Tripura, in the Bodo areas, in Manipur areas, Indo-Burma, Indo-Bangladesh, Indo-Bhutan area, living in really impoverished situations. So while we are resource-rich, India has been exploiting that. They are planning over 160 plus dams all across northeast of India, you see. And this is a very high seismic zone. Again, during COVID-19, when everything was at a lockdown, India tried to do mining and destroy the environment and forests in this part of our world. So again, this is what is happening, and this is what we are resisting. Yeah.
So I would need an extra visa once I get inside India to go to see it, wouldn't I?
Correct. Because no one was allowed in our region for a long time. And India hid us from the rest of the world. India hid us from the rest of the world and continues to do so. So the visa is quite what I call visa within a visa situation. So if you come to India with an Indian visa, you'll have to take another special permit to be able to enter our territories. So this is what's happening. So in short, yes, this is what, when I started working on our own region and try to make sense of it and try to communicate to the world outside, I have realized, oh my God, in the world of internet, in the world of globalization, we think we know everything around the world. We don't. The fact that you didn't know about Manipur is a fact that how nation states hide what they're doing in their own backyards. Yeah. And this got to change, because all we're asking is good governance, equal rights, equal treatment, and ensuring that everyone is treated equally and with dignity, and not impose military boots and martial law in the name of democracy. That is not real democracy happening. So we have said the democracy in India is not a real democracy when it comes to Manipur and northeast of India.
So when you first started to activate, could you join an existing organization? Was there anything to join, or did you have to start your own?
Yes, that's a great point. So as I said, I loved reading books. I wrote poetry as a child. I observed everything, and then when I grew up, I realized things were not all right. So for me, I started maintaining a diary at a very young age, a journal. So I used to write a lot, and one day I suddenly realized, that and I owe it to my grandfather, who actually taught a lot of Manipuri indigenous history, because this is not in the textbook. So he taught a lot of oral history to me and my family members, my brothers and sisters. So I wrote this book called Mekle, published in the year 2004. It's a historical fiction in Manipur, but it's actually all real. But I didn't want to identify myself, so I made it sound like historical fiction. But basically, it's my journey of trying to understand what is going on in Manipur. And then when I joined university in Delhi, I told my professor I want to research wars and conflicts, of why there are wars and conflict and so much of bloodshed, violence, and militarization. So that became a defining point of my life. So I always said, good activism, if you want to do activism, start with good research. So if you don't have good research, don't even get out your feet out so once you're able, so for me, the bedrock of my, what now the Indian media calls me an activist, didn't start from me joining any group. It started with my own questioning of what was happening and trying to find answers to the mayhem going on there. So my two books, Mekle and South Asia's Spectral Frontier, that I wrote, suddenly made me realize, art, songs, writing, poetry is so healing, particularly in conflict zones, to make you understand what is happening. And that gave me, myself, I'm talking about myself, the courage to say, what can we do about it? So, and I was one day in a village in Wabgai, Lamkai, where I heard gunshots. And a 27-year-old young man had been shot dead. Till today, we don't know who killed him. But I met the widow of this young man. And I was much younger than her then. I was still in my university. But when I saw people gathered around her, and her own mother started crying, how can I feed you anymore? They should have shot you dead also. That's when the moment when I stopped being from just only a scholar into doing something about it. So when I realized that there are thousands of women who have been widowed in this conflict. So there are like more than, as I said, 3 to 4 Manipuris are shot every day, killed in Manipur because of this conflict. So Manipur has 20,000 registered widows. And this is just the official data. It would be 3-4 times more. So we started finding out where are these families. So we started following conflict tombs. And that's when the organization Manipur Women Gun Survivors Network was born. The reason is, again, we did not join any group or anything. It happened very organically. As we did our work, our research, it became understood that we cannot just stop with writing in our notebooks or our laptops. We cannot walk away from a village after interviewing a woman who has been bereaved because of a killing. We realized that if we as scholars do not give back to community, what is the use of our scholarship? So we started the Manipur Women Gun Survivors Network, and we first identify families who are affected by conflict. Number one. Number two, it's not enough saying, "Oh, we feel sorry for you." Many of these families affected by this conflict are from very poor families, Jack. Conflicts never affect those who started. They are hiding in military bunkers, in palatial buildings. Conflict affects the poorest of the poor, and I know this from Manipur and in northeast of India, where I've traveled extensively all along. So we said, how does a family get on with their lives after a father has been killed, a mother has been killed, the bread earner has been killed? So we started providing livelihood support for families so that after a killing, at least they could eat, or the children can go to school. Basic things the government hadn't taken care of this family. So we just did that. And at the time, we didn't know what is an organization. How do you raise funds? No, we didn't know anything about this. But I was a good student. I had scholarship. All I did was opened the bank accounts of 125 women through my scholarship money. So it was just like share, let's live, and let them live. That was it. Like we survived through our scholarship. They need to have bread and butter and rice and food on the table that children need to go to, and it's peanuts, literally. Money was not so much for education there, so we just shared our resources. That's how we started, and then we formed a real strong bond, and we now work in 300 villages all across the northeast of India now. Yeah.
And so because you're in America now, is that right?
Right now, my lawyers have advised me against sharing my location, because I have received threats because of our work under the new government. So, yeah.
Because you were forced to flee, you were under. There were kill squads came to your house.
Yes, I was forced to flee. Absolutely. Again, as I said, what we are doing actually is the work government should be doing, helping survivors. It is a duty of governments who should be ensuring that the widows have food on their table. The government should be absolutely happy with the kind of work we are doing. But with 43% members of parliament with criminal background records in the Modi government right now, and with drug lords, people who have done drug trafficking becoming our ministers, how do you think will the governance structure be? So it became just a polar opposite. Rather than we chasing them to ask them to do the right thing, they started intimidating many, many people, who have been working for the community for like decades. We've been working 15 years, not a single, till now. But under the new government, which is really, really sad, freedom of expression, the right to do our work has been curbed. So many human rights defenders, so many journalists have been killed in India, and many in the Northeast arrested for a Facebook post. We can't speak anything, we can't do anything. So that's very, very sad about what is happening. We are neutral people. I don't belong to any political party. We want good governance, whoever comes to party. But if you're going to do under threats, intimidation, that is not going to work. So some of us have remained resilient and resolute against trying to showcase that this is not done. And that's where we are. Yes, absolutely. Many of us have been threatened, and we have to stay safe to be able to continue. But we are not afraid, because our work has been done with democratic principles and with the principle of nonviolence.
And do you have free elections there? Is there an opposition party that people can go to?
This is a semblance of democracy that India has put upon us, that it is supposed to look like democracy, but it's 38% only voted for Prime Minister Modi and his party. And in our region, it has been so much money poured, where money is distributed the night before elections. And then so many armed gunmen were used to force people to vote, and so many armed gangs involved in the election process. How can you call such an election free and fair? So it is not free and fair as many would ask us to believe, where it is a election where huge amount of money has exchanged hands. It's an election where huge amount of armed violence have been used. This is not free and fair. This is a forced election process, where we have not been able to. And then if anyone is in the opposition, they buy them off, they bribe them off, or they intimidate them. So this for us is not democracy as it should work.
So what was the chain of events that forced you to flee the country?
So we work on a lot of survivors of violence, right? So many of them are survivors of sexual assault by state, non-state, or people. We take them to court. We work with a lot of lawyers. So a young man, 19-year-old man called Irom Roger, he was shot dead by the current chief minister of Manipur's son. He belongs to Modi's political party. He was earlier with the Congress, so he has shifted power, political power. What I call it, the political party. And we were in our Manipur office, and the mother of this dead boy wanted to seek legal help to file case for the killing of her only son, a 19-year-old architecture student who was coming home to Manipur for his holiday. And he was shot dead on the road to airport by the current Chief Minister of Manipur's son. And because he's the Chief Minister, no human rights group, no lawyer agreed to help the mother. So she came to our office wearing funeral attire. I didn't know her from before. And she asked the help of our office to help her file a case. Our office has been filing cases for 10 years. We don't take sides. Whoever has committed a crime should be punished by law, even if it's the Prime Minister. This is our stand. And even if a crime is committed by non-state, we also take a stand. Anyone who commits a crime against any unarmed civilian cannot just go away because it. So the reason for my threats was because we dare help the mother of this 19-year-old boy who was killed.
That was very brave. That must have been a long night when you sat together and decided whether to do the case or not.
No, it was very clear for us, because for us, justice is justice. Justice is justice. And if anyone commits crime against humanity, crime against another citizen, you should be punished. And that's, let the law take its course. But just because you are XYZ in power doesn't give you the right to intimidate anyone. So for us, we didn't deliberate whether to help her or not. If all we asked was, so she wanted help, we tried to reach out to some lawyers. When that didn't work, we tried to get the help of lawyers in India, in New Delhi, and they helped the mother. So we didn't hesitate. But before I had to really take a stand to stay protected, I had to really think, and we had sleepless nights. But yeah, absolutely. It was harrowing, but we were, there were mobs who were threatened and instigated to hurt us. They tried to kill the mother of this dead boy. They tried to intimidate the lawyer who was filing the case. They intimidated us at every counts. That was what happened, and this is not done at all.
And then what was the final push that made you leave?
I never left in my heart, and I will never leave. It is just a moment, because we cannot be foolish as rights defenders. So one has to stay safe wherever we are, and this is for every human rights defender in the world. Last year, more than 300 human rights defenders have been killed worldwide. So many journalists have been killed worldwide. So for reporting the truth, for telling this truth, for doing work for truth. So we got to stay safe wherever we are, but our hearts never leave our work, the people for which we have always been there for decades.
Wow. And are you still finding, is it still an active organization? Did they shut down that organization, or are you still filing cases for other people?
Absolutely. The good thing is, as I always believed in multiple lines of leadership and, working together collectively. I don't believe that one person should do everything. So as I said, our organization, we have been in operation for a decade and a half. We didn't start last year, you see. So we have trained multiple layers of leadership, youth groups, women groups. So it's an organic, organization. So I'm so proud of everyone who has been a part of it. And just a couple of months back, we had our third Northeast India Women Peace Congregation online. So our work goes nonstop every single day, Jack. We never stop. Yeah.
Do you see a light at the end of the tunnel? What could finally break this, do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, as I said, all we are asking is good governance, ensuring rule of law, and demilitarize civilian spaces. Yeah. Right? So we will win in the end. Right now, our government is so drunk in power. The advisors are so drunk in nationalism. They're so drunk in saying that the religion is the best. They're so drunk in so many ways that they have failed to see what the citizens are asking for. And nation states are built of citizens. And listening to the rights and demands of the citizens, if they do not listen, they will crumble on their own. So we are absolutely hopeful that we will win in the end, because what we are fighting for is our collective rights and justice. We are not fighting to win an election. I have refused from so many political parties to stand elections because this is not what we are doing this work. We jumped into this work because we felt it is wrong to impose a martial law on 45 million people in this northeast of India. It is wrong for India to delete the history of 45 million people in its textbooks. It's wrong for the world's largest democracy to continue to treat the people of northeast of India as second-class citizens, and to think that they can impose Hinduism on indigenous communities or do population engineering to make us, be minorities in our own land, you see. So they are doing all of this. So I hope that the government of India and its policymakers, one day wake up and say, this is not democracy. This is not what India should be. India should be a land of diversity. So we have suggested to them that India should have a national diversity policy, a multicultural policy. And India should have an anti-racial law, which should then stop mistreating indigenous people and its minorities as second-class citizens. That we should be treated, as I mentioned, equal citizens in an equal country. So what we are demanding is enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, is enshrined in the Constitution of India itself. So if they don't listen to this, God save the country, literally. So
it's the largest democracy in the world. That should be a cornerstone, no?
Absolutely. So this are so it's our fight for this is in the right path. So we are undeterred, unafraid, and we have been continuing our work before, now, and will continue. Yeah.
Wow, it's just a wonderful story that you have so much. The work you're doing is fantastic.
Thank you, Jack. And like Manipur, there are 21 known conflicts in the world. Like, so you hear about Syria, Congo, but there are more than 300 plus unknown, unreported conflicts in the world,
really?
Just like the Manipur conflict. Yeah. So after this, we are also trying to find out which other regions in the world are suffering like what Manipur is.
Yeah.
And we are trying to help and support our solidarity to say the people of many parts of the world who are equally living under a military regime, really suppressed, their rights are suppressed. And we are doing this through the Global Alliance of Indigenous People, Gender, Justice and Peace, which, after everything that has been done to us, we managed to go global with the setting up of the Global Alliance of Indigenous People, Gender, Justice and Peace. And we are now working on a more worldwide level now. Yeah.
I was reading about the indigenous people there, and you're not Hindus. You worship the sun's rays and the moon rays?
Absolutely, absolutely. The indigenous people of the Northeast, we do not belong to any of the known world religions. So when I was in college, we have to fill up college form. They ask you about your religion there. Right? So I didn't know what to fill because I was not a Hindu, I was not a Muslim, I was not a Buddhist. But I grew up worshipping the rays of the sun. It's called the Sanamahi in Manipuri language. It's called Doni Polo in Arunachal Pradesh. It's a very beautiful way where you connect with the rays of the sun and the moon, and it's so natural and it's so thing. It's just connecting with nature. In Manipur, one day I hope you come and we extend an invite to you. We have a whole festival called the Pleasing of the Gods, which is about honoring the forest.
Yeah,
all
much more in touch with nature.
Absolutely. We are deeply connected with nature. We grow our own food. We weave our own clothes. We don't wear make in China, labels. But, if you look at the fabrics of our group in Manipur, we work with over hundreds of women weavers. We are trying to be economically self-reliant with our work. So, yes, absolutely. In terms of, so this is the resilience that we continue. And again, our work will not have been made possible had it not been for our mothers and grandmothers' generation. Manipur actually has an incredible 114-year-old women's movement. Yeah, so it's called the First and the Second Women's War of 1904 and 1939. So whenever I enter discussions of world feminist movements and they say that this and that, I always say that, like, for example, the Me Too movement. So I said the Me Too movement is great, I support, but then, Manipur had our Me Too movement 100 years ago. So just because our stories, our narratives are not known to the world because it's not included, so you don't know about us, but our history is as old as many of your histories are. So I always try to bring in the fact that indigenous narratives, indigenous knowledge must be a part, and it will really make the world richer in terms of understanding our indigenous knowledge, our heritage, that all of us bring to the table will absolutely enrich the world. Yeah.
Actually, I know from my metaphysical studies that the Brahma in the Hindu scripts is the sun, and the God in the Bible is the sun as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because God spoke the word, the AUM, the original, the earth came from the sun. So worshipping the sun is the highest being in our concept of manifestation.
Yes, and it's also very speaking naturally, it's true. Without the sun, the energy of the sun, you and I, and nothing will exist in this planet Earth.
We're solidified sunlight.
Absolutely. The sun is a source of all our life and energy, life forms and energy. So,
we can never repay the debt we owe to the sun. It's,
So in a Manipuri household, every morning we don't start our day without worshipping the sun. So we don't have any images. We just take fresh pond water, fresh flowers, look up to the rays of the sun, and then say. And then in the night, every night, the ritual, we don't go to bed without looking up to the direction of the moonlight, and that's how every Manipuri household does that. Yeah.
I was reading when I was studying you. I came across Imran Chan Sharmila.
Yes, absolutely. I have met her. I know her brother, her mother, and she has been an incredible resilience against the martial law. She fasted for 16 long years for the removal of the martial law. I've spent so much time with her, even during when she was in hospital under hospital arrest because of the charge of the government that she's attempting suicide for the removal of the martial law. So we have tremendous resilience. The only thing is that in movements, it has to be collective decision making in terms of deciding what are the next steps. And what didn't happen with, I call her Iche, means elder sister in my native language. What happened with Iche was, in the end, she did not go along with the people's movement. She went off on her own, and the movement died. So it was really what a movement which absolutely instilled awe and strength in every Manipuri and in the hearts of many Indians too, who didn't even know, but when they heard that she was fasting for so many, they felt pain
16
in their
years with it. She had a tube up her nose into her stomach for 16 years to put food in 3 times a day.
Absolutely. She was there was rice, lentils, and water was put through the tubes. In fact,
and she was released every year, and then she had to go back in straight away because she wouldn't eat.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
And so for 15 years she did. She's now based in South India, and she has 2 wonderful children now. And there was controversy around her life partner, but then we just for me, I always believe that an activist is inhuman, and she has every right to choose a life partner and get married, have children.
Yeah.
And she should do what she wants. The only thing is, the day when she ended her fast, because Indian elections is so dirty that I really tried my best to tell her, look, Ije, once you're out, and giving up her fast was something I also told her a long time back, that even Gandhi said a fast should be used as a means to an end, but not in an end in itself. And Gandhi did say, if you don't know how to end a fast, don't even start one. So Gandhi had said this, in you read his writings on fast, a fast is like a tool, you see. So it's to be used in a way. And so as she was
To
ending,
get like a small objective and then get that. And,
yes, Gandhi
okay.
did it. He used to fast and then prick the conscience of British colonial rule and others, and then again he will negotiate and he will fast. He will negotiate.
Right.
So I tried my best to talk to Iche to say that you have proven your point now. You're becoming an icon to all Manipuris and to the whole world. Because the whole world, she was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, and she was becoming a global icon, for
Right.
her name was in the Ripley's Believe It or Not record of, the longest fast in the world. She was becoming the world star, in New York Times wrote about her. The world was reporting on Manipur in a way it has not been done before. And the day she also gave her a pa, for the first time in our history, the world's media converged in Manipur in a manner that had never happened before. And at that moment, she had the whole world in her hands.
Yeah.
And I was waiting with abated breath to hear the words of, again, with her voice, telling India, remove the martial law, remove the martial law, and let Manipuris be free from this martial law and this military boots. And let us work and plunge on. And rather, she said these words, that she's going to contest elections and will fight against, her aim was to become the chief minister of Manipur. And I almost died that day, Jack. my heart pained. And I said, that's when I knew when movements die. That's the day I also realized movements cannot be one person centric. It has to be people centric, where you take into account the community. It is not your wish to lead a movement. It's not your wish to leave a movement when you join one. Never to do a movement without taking into people's consideration. That for me was, I will never forget that moment. Yeah. And there are many theories as to how she was persuaded to ask about contesting election, because in election India is so dirty that I knew that she wouldn't survive. She got, I think, 96 votes or something.
Yeah.
And she thought whole of Manipur would love her. Yes, we love her. But elections in India is so dirty. It's another ball game. And after being inside a room for 16 years, I wanted her to come out, speak to the villages, go to village after village, go to, one state of India to another, go to one country for another, and get her message across to galvanize. And then she would have gathered resources, energy, and the strategies to contest elections, and we could have won. If she
Because you need to build a movement, you need to build the roots first.
Exactly. And I tried telling her, and she didn't listen to anyone. And she would, I think, less than 100 votes, and she was so upset that the people of Manipur didn't elect her, so she left Manipur. Yeah. So that was the end, and it's really sad.
She has twins now. She's 47. Yes. She just gave birth to twins.
Yes, I'm really happy for her.
Story,
yeah, she is, experiencing motherhood is so, it's a beautiful part of being a parent is life. But I'm happy for her.
But that's such a sliding door moment. To live that life would have been so demanding after being 16 years in a room and then go town to town talking and.
Yeah.
I mean, or now to live in Bangalore, just being a parent is, but still that AFSPA, the law stands. So
it's still there. The law is still there, and that's what, as I said, right now the current government is absolutely clamping down on every rights, freedom of expression, and trying to Hinduize India. So it'll take a while.
All right. Well, it's been a heavy conversation, but been really great. So, if I'm going to write a song about this, I could do I've done a song about guns already. So, I know you're campaigning gun control, and
Yes.
there's the women's rights angle that's so strong as well, or this AFSPA,
Yes.
or what do you think you should focus on in a song?
Yes. In a song, the song should be like a wind which wakes you up, which lets people realize that they cannot do what India is doing to us. It cannot have martial law for more than 62 years. It cannot, continue to discriminate its own people. It cannot continue to be a colonizer on indigenous people's lands, rights, and territories, and our stories, in our histories. And you cannot be a nation when you try to let the military control our lives. That cannot be a nation. You cannot even demilitarizing our lives, our histories, our future. That's what needs to come. India cannot. India is a land of Gandhi, land of democracy. It cannot do this, what it's doing to the people of Manipur and northeast of India. It must stop. And people of Manipur and northeast India are going to fight till the last. We are not going to give up. With India's second largest military army in the world, and India is the world's second largest importer of weapons. With all the weapons in that India is trying to get into, you cannot. The spirit of the people of Manipur, our women, our mothers, our youth remain strong and resilient. And even if it may be deadened for a while because of money politics, I know the spirit of my people. They will not give up. They will not give up. And because what we are fighting for is the truth of being asked for our rights, our dignity, and to let us live as free people, So I think that's the spirit, what I feel, and the fact why India needs to realize it cannot go on like this, and they must repeal the martial law.
Yeah. Is there a phrase in the local language that could that you have as like a message, a line?
Yes, sure. It's Hingminnasi. It's a beautiful word. It means let us live together. Hingminnasi. Let's live together. I mean, let Indians also live. Let the governing structure, but you cannot say, we will live and we will kill you. I mean, that's not done. Hingminnasi ekoi. In fact, Hingminnasi ekoi means let us live together, but not by hurting one another. And another beautiful phrase that you may like is Apunbana yaipare, means together is strength. Apunba means together.
Okay.
And yaipare means strength. So that's what we believe in. It has to be collective. It cannot be a top-down approach towards anyone, any community, any region. It has to be done in a spirit of cooperation and collaboration and respect and dignity for one another. Yeah.
That's why I heard you say there's two types of leaders, one at the front and one pushes the people at the back.
Yes, absolutely. It's, I have rejected, so many political parties approached for becoming a member of parliament, and we are not for one seat. We are not doing this work because of one seat. We are doing this because a huge collective has been exploited and repressed and hurt, killed, tortured, maimed. And this cannot go on. For them, we are doing. It's not for the seats.
Right.
That's why I truly believe that true leadership is not that you're sitting out there in the dais on the chair, high chair. True leadership is when we are able to collectively thrive and push our fight for justice together, and we win it together, without thinking of anything that, okay, this is going to give us. No, that's not our form of working. So, and that's why this is what will define us always. Yeah.
Wow. This has been great. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me.
Thank you, Jack. And thank you so much for reaching out. And I can't wait to hear your song. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And I hope to next time I'll be able to I don't know why the camera didn't work, but I will try one more time. But I can see I'm still blank.
Okay, no worries. Well, see you together in Manipur when it's all over.
Yes, right. And I really hope one day you come and visit us. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Have a great day and a good year.
You too.
And keep up your good work. It's really
Thank you.
important.
Thank you very much.
Okay, bye.
When your own government's against you, war is all you've ever known. Corruption undermines everything. Votes are bought and sold. Armed gunmen drive through the streets. AFSPA says they do what they please. Your own military is adversarial. Who do you turn to for peace? There's nothing to say, only to sing. No one sheds tears for Manipur, the forgotten northeast of India. Hidden away, people shot every day, quietly one by one, with bullets fired from Western-built guns. Who profits from peace? Keep going, no one will know. When will the wind of change blow? There's nothing to say, only to sing.
Thanks for tuning in. As always, please like, subscribe, share, do anything you can to help promote the show. If you want to hear the song again, you can go to Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, etc. Stream it there, or buy it for $1 on Podsongs.com. This will help support my musicians, Maurizio Sarnicola, Massimino Vozza, and my researcher, Dori Verbo. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.